Hello and welcome to Bags of Action. My name is Pete and this is a 5-minute Bags of Action review of The Debt Collector from 2018. A classically trained martial artist goes to work as a mob debt collector. The job seems easy enough until a client drags him into a situation deeper than can ever be anticipated. This film was directed by Jesse V. Johnson, who is a stuntman, a stunt coordinator, as well as a writer-director. He's made films such as Triple Threat, Accident Man, and Avengement, interestingly, all starring Scott Adkins. He also wrote this movie, and those 3 films prior as well, and wrote this one alongside Stu Smalls, who also wrote Accident Man with him, as well as Avengement. It stars Scott Adkins, who's been in those movies, and also in bigger films like Expendables 2 and Doctor Strange. He plays French. And Louis Mandylor from The Quest and Big Fat Greek Wedding. He plays Sue. You've got Vladimir Kulich from The Equalizer and The 13th Warrior. Tony Todd from Candyman and The Rock. Selina Lowe from The Scorpion King 3, Triple Threat, and soon to be seen in Boss Level, and another classic name from the past, Michael Paré from The Philadelphia Experiment and also Gone. Now, I found Scott Adkins' movies to be a mixed bag, and the same goes for his longtime director-collaborator Jesse V. Johnson, so I went into this film unsure what to expect. The first 10 minutes feel like a homage to something like No Retreat, No Surrender, and this movie does wear its influences on its sleeve. I think they really wanted to make a Shane Black-style buddy movie, in part inspired by The Last Boy Scout, in other ways going for the low-budget, fight-based version of The Nice Guys. 15 to 20 minutes in, I wasn't sure I was going to keep watching, if I'm honest. But once I got further into the film, I started to get to grips with it. In some ways, it's very dated indeed. It kind of feels like a late 80s or very early 90s movie, somewhere between a Van Damme or Seagal level film and a tier below, the kind of film you'd see Don the Dragon Wilson or Billy Blanks in back in the day. Adkins is a bit like Statham meets Van Damme, but with probably a better range than Statham, and Louis Mandylor oozes old-school Bruce Willis in this movie. And it's the two of them, French as the new debt collector and Sue as his partner who's been there, done that, bought the t-shirt, that creates that buddy drama. Now, the best things by far in The Debt Collector are the fights. Across the 3 days collecting debts, which is a brilliant way to keep the storytelling tight, they get into lots of scrapes, and I love the contrast between French, played by Adkins, being a martial artist, and Sue, played by Lou Mandor, being an ex-boxer. Those they fight seem to all be stunt performers, and that makes the fights much more gritty and believable, along with being well choreographed, as you'd expect with the stunt coordinator as the director. It does, however, mean that many of the opponents have their lines dubbed, which takes a little bit of time to get used to. And like in the best films from back in the day, there is plenty of humour in the fights too, and some great banter between the 2 leads. Now, the quality of the fights would have been enough to make me really like this film as a teenager, but nowadays I do want something more. I didn't like all of the humour. The treatment of women in this film was very suspect. They're either there for sex, or to be threatened with, or subjected to violence. There is an ongoing motif about the fate of cows, which is as odd as it sounds, but does pay off in the end. But the biggest problem for me was the way the story just kind of bumbled along. There was no real driving narrative other than to get the 2 debt collectors to know each other and work together, until an interesting specific wrinkle that was thrown in, but that was only 20 minutes from the end, and it felt far too late for the main kind of meat of the story to appear then. Now, on another day, as I say, I'd have turned this off, but for some reason the combination of those 2 leads, their charisma, the excellent fights, and the overall vibe slowly won me over enough to stay until the end, and the ending was poignant enough to make it more than the sum of its uneven parts. Now, if we did half bags, this film could have done a little better. And as I say, the fight scenes are almost worth the price of entry alone. I'm going to give The Debt Collector 2 bags of action out of 5. But I still say it's worth seeing. Have you seen The Debt Collector? Do you agree with my assessment of it? Feel free to comment below or get in touch with us via email, Facebook or on Twitter. We have new episodes coming out weekly alongside our full-length podcast. Don't forget to give this video a like, subscribe to the channel and hit that bell to get notifications. Bags of Action will always be free, but if you'd like to buy us a coffee, you can do that at our Ko-fi page.